So this video is going to be about the second law of exponents that we're going to review for this section. So in the first video we talked about the product rule of exponents. Now we're going to talk about the quotient rule of exponents. So again, just in that title, exponents, I know that I'm dealing with repeated multiplication. That's what exponents mean. And then quotient tells me that I'm going to be dealing with division, because quotient means to divide. It's actually the kind of answer to a division problem, but simple idea there is it's telling me I know I need to divide. So paying attention to that vocabulary and understanding what it means, I immediately know I'm going to be dealing with repeated multiplication and division. All right, so again, we have two methods on this one, and I like to show you both methods so that you can kind of see and decide which one makes more sense. So using the definition of the exponent, we can rewrite this quotient until we have a single power of the variable and then cancel from the numerator to the denominator. So we're looking at this method number one. So with this one, I have a divided by a to the fifth power. So I have a on top, and then I have 5 a's on the bottom. So you can see how they expanded that out. And then what cancel means is I can cancel 1 to 1. So I can cross off 1a to 1a. Now if you cross off everything in either the numerator or the denominator, it does not mean it's 0. It means it's 1. Okay? The only way to get 0 is to literally subtract it down to 0. But we're not subtracting, really. What we're doing with canceling is it's division. We're saying a divided by a, well, that's 1. So it's just a quick way of dividing there. So we have 1 over a, so it's a times a times a. So it's 4 a's. Remember, this is the basics of what exponents mean. I'm taking that base, I'm multiplying a times itself 4 times, so I can rewrite that as a to the 4th power. And this is all they want us to do for some of these. We will move forward. I think we're just going to simplify these. We're not actually going to evaluate any piece of them, which the difference between simplify and evaluate, simplify just means to literally make it as simple as we possibly can, which is what we did here. Evaluate means to go a little farther, where they're going to give us actual numbers that we can multiply. So a to the 4th power, well, I don't know what a is, so this is as simple as I can go. All right, so with this one, when dividing powers with the same base, we subtract the exponent. So if you remember from the product rule, when you're multiplying powers with the same base, we add the exponent. So multiply, product, add. When we're doing division, when we're dividing powers, so dividing, quotient, we subtract. So hopefully we can put those two kind of concepts together. Multiplying and adding are both increasing. Dividing and subtracting are both decreasing. So hopefully we can keep those two concepts together in that way. So this is a little bit more advanced. We haven't quite gotten into this idea of subtracting exponents. So we have a over x divided by a over y. So we would have a, that's our base. We'd have x minus y. So we can do that same thing over here. But the problem is with this one is we would end up with a negative exponent. If I did 1, remember if I don't see it, it's a 1. 1 minus 5, I get negative 4. So what do I do with that negative 4? When we get a negative when it's an exponent, what it literally means is it's in the wrong place. It's a very quick indicator. So if I have a to the negative 4, what that means is it's up in the numerator because it's just a and a negative 4. It's telling me to move that a to the 4th down to the denominator, and then it becomes positive because now it's in the right place. So that is all the negative means in exponent. It doesn't actually mean the number is negative. I know I see students kind of mix that one up a little bit. Even in my advanced math classes, we get that one a little bit mixed up sometimes where we think it means a negative number. But it literally just tells us it's in the wrong place. So if I use the subtraction method, I do have to be aware that I may have to move it to the bottom, the denominator, or if it's in the denominator, I may have to move it to the top in the numerator. So it's just a different idea there, but we are going to start dealing with negative exponents here pretty soon. So this is a little introduction to that idea. All right, so let's go ahead and practice these. So first let's expand the expression and cancel.
So you can see
so we're going to do this one first.
Expand each
The top and the bottom, and then we're going to cancel.
So
we have
exponents.
y on the
Or
top,
the
just
variables.
one of them. And then on the
I
bottom, I have y to the fourth. That means I have
So
1, 2,
of them
3,
we
4
multiply.
w's that should be
So
y's,
now I'm
but
gonna
it's still
cancel
the same idea.
y
I will change
to
that
1.
for class, darn it. And
Um,
there's nothing else left to cancel on the top. So that means I'm
with
left
this one,
with
we're
only
gonna
one on
cancel
the top
1 to 1.
But I do
That's
have
all I have on the
3
top. I don't have
y's
anything left
here on
the
the bottom.
cancel.
The denominator.
So I'm left with
1
so
on the
I'm
top,
gonna
y to the
and then
third
there's
power.
3
on the bottom.
So
W
this
times
is
W times W.
simplified.
So
That's
I
as
can
far as I
write
can
that.
go.
I want to
As
show you that
W
second
cubed,
method,
again,
the
it should be
subtraction
y.
method, so that you can see
Yes,
it.
Alex would have marked
So
me
now I
wrong
have
for this
y,
because I'm using the wrong
and it's
variable.
1 minus 4.
So be careful about
always
that.
make sure you're going from top to
You
bottom.
definitely
when
want to
you're
make sure you're using
subtracting.
the correct variables.
So I have to go 1
Alright, so
minus 4. I
second,
can't
we're
go
going
4
to use
minus
the
1 because
subtraction
that will
method
actually
I
change
want
the
to
problem.
actually show you what that
Give me a
looks like.
positive. So I'm
So
going to
I
end
have
up with
W
negative 3, y to the negative
or
3.
y, because it should be y's.
And since I
with
don't see
1
any
on
fraction
top
on this one, what it
and
means
4 on
is
the
it's
bottom, so it's
automatically
1
minus
in the
4. You always go from top to bottom when you're subtracting.
So
a
so I
negative
wouldn't write
exponent
this as 4 minus 1.
is
It
1
means
it belongs
minus 4.
on the bottom of the fraction.
So I
in
end
this
up with,
case, because this is automatically in the numerator since there is no fraction. That's automatically where numbers kind of end up when you don't see the fraction. So it means I just want to put it, I want to push it down to the denominator, and I want to put a 1 on top, because once I push it down to the denominator, there's nothing left on the bottom, or on the top, except 1. So it's the same method. We got the exact same answer. It just depends on the method that you prefer there. And this may be a little bit more advanced, so this may not make sense to everybody quite yet. We haven't practiced a lot, any negative exponents yet, so I'm introducing it a little early. I'm kind of front-loading that one. And if you notice, it went from y to negative 3, and now it's y, and it's positive 3. Because once I put it where it belongs, once I push it down to the bottom there, in the denominator, the negative disappears. The negative was just an indicator that it doesn't belong.
Try
in
this
the
one by
numerator.
expanding it just so you can
belongs
see
in
the
denominator.
just
We're
letting
going
me
to expand
know
the top and the
that
bottom,
it
and then we're
belongs
going to
in the
cancel.
denominator.
So we have
just be
y
careful
on the
about
top,
that.
Just
That
one
one
of
could
them.
be a little bit
And on
complicated.
the bottom, I have y to the fourth. That means I have
especially
4
if you're not
multiplied.
So
Sure.
now I'm going to cancel
what I'm doing
1
there with the
to
negatives
1
and the
positives in the exponents.
and there's nothing else left to
is a
cancel on the
method
top.
that
So that means I'm
can be
left
a
with
little
only
quicker.
1 on the top.
So again,
But I do
which
have
method do you
3
prefer, 1
y's
or
here on the
2,
bottom in the denominator,
which
I'm gonna
is
write y
less
to the
time-consuming,
power.
1 or 2.
So this is
So again, this
simplified.
kind of
That's
just
as far
depends
as I
on
can go.
preference.
I want to show you that
And
second method,
also
the
not just
subtraction
time-consuming,
method,
but
so
you can
which
see it.
one will cause less
So
errors.
now I have y.
Now in this one,
I was a little bit
minus
more
4,
firm
so
on
always
the
make sure you're
product
going from top
rule
to bottom
that
when
I
you're
thought
subtracting.
method number 1 would
So
cause
I have
more
to go
errors
1 minus
because
4. I can't go 4 minus 1 because that will actually
the
change the problem. It will give you
expanding,
a positive.
and you may forget.
So I'm going to end up with negative 3, y to the negative 3. But with this one,
and since I don't see any fraction on this one, what it means is I can see errors with either method.
Okay.
If you're not
So a negative
close enough
exponent,
attention.
same idea
means
with
it
this
belongs
method
on
number
the
1 if
bottom
you
of the fraction
accidentally
in this
didn't write
case,
enough of these
because
out.
this is automatically
when
in
you
the
go to
numerator
count
since
them,
there is no
they won't
fraction.
all be there.
That's
So
automatically
that's
where
kind
numbers
of a
kind of
simple
end up.
idea of making an error on that one.
Or if you
when
didn't
don't
cancel
see the
them
fraction
correctly.
So it means I just want to put it. I want to push it down to the
although with
denominator.
method number
and I wanna
2,
put a
it all
1 on top,
depends on whether or not
once
you're
I push it down to the
subtracting
denominator, there's nothing left on the bottom. If you didn't subtract
top
1 minus
except
4
1.
correctly and you didn't get your
So it's
negative
just-
3,
it's
the same method. We got the
maybe you
exact
just
same
weren't paying
answer.
attention, you just wrote 3.
It just depends
Well,
on the method.
y to
that
the
you
third
prefer
power is
there,
different
and
than
this
1
may be a
over
little bit
y
more
to the third
advanced.
power.
So this may not make
Because
sense
that
to
would be a
everybody
whole
quite yet. We haven't practiced a lot
part of something
any
when
negative
there's
exponents yet.
whole
So I'm
numbers.
introducing
Well,
a little
this
early.
is a piece
I'm
of a
kind of
number.
front
This is
loading
a
that one.
fraction.
So definitely,
and if you notice,
I
it
can
went
see
from
errors
y to
with
negative
each
3,
one.
and now it's y, and it's positive 3.
Because once I put it where it belongs, once I push it down to the bottom there,
so
in the denominator,
first with this
the
one,
negative
I'll back
disappears.
up.
We have
Simplify
negative was
32
just an
x
indicator
to the third
that
power,
it doesn't
28
belong in
x
the
to the
numerator.
fourth power.
It belongs
So
in the denominator.
The
Just
first
letting
thing
you
that I
know
suggested to
that
do
it
on this
belongs
one
in the
was to reduce the
denominator.
coefficients.
Just be careful about
Because
that.
I can go
That
through
one
and
can
I
be a
can
little bit
divide
complicated.
4 away from both 32 and 28.
Especially
so
if
I
you're
can make
not
those a little smaller,
sure
kind of get that
kind of
part
what
out of
I'm
the
doing
way.
there with the negatives and the
So
positives.
32 divided
the
by
exponents.
4 is 8,
It is a
and
method
28
that
divided by
can
4
be a little
is
quicker.
7. So
we
again,
can see that right away.
which
that
method do you
reduces
prefer,
down.
1 or 2?
So now the fraction
And
part here is done.
which is less
But now I do have to deal with the
time-consuming, 1 or 2.
exponent.
So again, this
so
kinda
I'm
just
going to go ahead and do the
depends on preference.
subtraction method and just practice
and
that again.
also,
so
not
not
just
just time consuming, but
3
which one
minus
will
4
cause
number
less
from top to
errors.
bottom.
Now in this one, I was
So
a
I end up
little
with
bit
8
more
over 7,
firm on the
and it's
product
w to the
rule
negative 1
that I thought.
So
method
remember, this
number one would
automatically,
cause
when
more
it's
errors
not a part of the
because,
fraction, it's just next to it.
or or if you don't see a fraction, it kind of is telling you it's in the numerator, one of your variables.
But does it belong there?
No, because that's a negative.
But with this one,
exponent.
It does kind of just depend on preference.
I
can
that
see
down to
the bottom
either
of the fraction. I want to push that down to the denominator
close enough
so that it's a
attention.
positive.
Same
exponent.
idea with this.
And you can see I don't even have
if you
accidentally didn't write
an
exponent of
these
1,
out,
I don't need it.
When you go to count them,
a negative 1, I do need to have that negative one there to show.
A simple idea of making an error on that one.
Or if you didn't
just
cancel
one,
them
it's
out
negative.
correctly.
And again, it's just an indicator that it's
although with
in the
method number 2, it all depends on whether or not you're
push it
subtracting
right down to
the
the
bottom
bottom
there, and now it's a positive one.
If you didn't
So
subtract
7,
1 minus
4 correctly, and you
didn't
didn't
get
get
your
your
negative
negative
3,
3,
in the right place.
maybe you just weren't paying
Okay,
attention.
so let's
You
try
showed
this
3 one more time here. So we have
y to the third power is different
z
than 1
to the 6th
over
power
y to
and
the
z
third
to the 4th power. So we're subtracting
because
6
that would be
minus
a
4,
whole
and then y to the
part
second
of
power, or y
something,
squared, and y to the 5th power. So 2
well,
minus
this
5
is
again
a
from
piece of a
top
number.
to bottom.
This is a fraction.
6 minus 4.
So definitely,
2 minus
I can
5.
see errors with
That
each one.
Direction
what
matters. You have to go in that direction when you're using this method.
So first,
now
with
I
this
have
one,
6 minus 4 is 2.
We've simplified
So
32
z squared. That one's
x
perfectly
to the
fine.
third power,
That's where
28
it's
x
supposed
to
to
the
be in the
fourth power.
numerator.
So
because it's
the
positive.
first thing that I
But now
suggested
2
to do on
minus
this one
5,
was
that
to
gets me
reduce the
negative 3.
coefficients.
So that tells me
Because I
that
can
it
go
should
through
not
and
be
I
there.
can
It
divide
should be in
4
the
away from
denominator.
32 and 28. So I can make
Right,
those
so
a
I need to
little
push that down to the
smaller,
bottom of the
gotta
denominator,
get
so
that
it's a
part out of the
positive
way.
3.
So 32
Now it's
divided
in the
by
correct place.
4 is
So again,
8,
if we were
and
to
28
expand this
divided by
out,
4 is 7.
and
So
I
we can
saw
see
the
that
z's,
right
I would have
away, that
6
reduces
z's on
down.
top and 4 on the bottom.
So now the fraction part
So I
here
would
is done.
cancel the 4
But
on the
now I
bottom
do
with
have to
4 on
deal
top,
with
and I
the
have
exponent.
2 left over.
So
on the
I'm
top.
going to go ahead and do the subtraction method.
If I were
and
to
just
expand the
practice that
y's,
again.
I only have 2 on the top.
3
5 on
minus
the
4,
bottom.
remember, from top to bottom.
So if I cancel the 2 on the top with 2
So
on the
we
bottom,
8 over 7,
I'm left with 3
and it's w to the
on the
negative
bottom.
1. So remember, this automatically,
so again,
when it's
it
not
just
a part of
depends
the
on which
fraction,
method
it's
you
just next to it.
I should have
Or
shown
if
you the
you don't see a
expansion
fraction,
method one more time, but
it kind of is telling you it's in the numerator.
It
But does it
depends
belong
on which
there?
method makes
No,
most sense to you.
that's a
As we start to
negative
get
exponent.
bigger numbers
So what it
and
means
bigger exponents,
is I'm going to push
the
that down to the
expansion
bottom
method can be a
of the
little
fraction. I'm
tedious
gonna push
and
that
I
down
think
to the
cause
denominator
more errors
so that
because
it's a positive
we start to
exponent. And you can
have to
see I don't
write
even have the 1
variable
here
out
because
too
when
many
it's an exponent of
times.
1, I don't need it.
So it's a little more
A negative
tendency to
1, I
forget
do
things.
need to have that negative 1 there to
Alright,
show.
so we're going to keep moving
that
forward
it's
on
not
more
just 1, it's negative.
exponent laws.
And again, it's
So I
just an
hope this
indicator
one
that it's in
helped
the
for the
wrong part of
quotient
my fraction.
rule.
So I can just push it right down to the bottom there.
For
and now it's a
exponents,
positive
and I
one.
will see you in the next
So
video.
it's 8 over 7 W. And this is just now a positive one because it's in the right place.
Okay, so let's try this one more time here. So we have z to the 6th power and z to the 4th power. So we're subtracting 6 minus 4. And then y to the 2nd power, or y squared, and y to the 5th power. So 2 minus 5. Again, from top to bottom. 6 minus 4, 2 minus 5. That direction matters. You have to go in that direction when you're using this method. So now I have 6 minus 4 is 2. So z squared, that one's perfectly fine. That's where it's supposed to be in the numerator because it's positive. But now 2 minus 5, that gets me negative 3. So that tells me that it should not be there. It should be in the denominator. Right, so I need to push that down to the bottom of the denominator so it's a positive 3. Now it's in the correct place. So again, if we were to expand this out and I saw the z's, I would have 6 z's on top and 4 on the bottom. So I would cancel the 4 on the bottom with 4 on top, and I'd have 2 left over on the top. If I were to expand the y's, I only have 2 on the top, and I have 5 on the bottom. So if I cancel the 2 on the top with 2 on the bottom, I'm left with 3 on the bottom. So again, it just depends on which method you would. I should have shown you the expansion method one more time, but it depends on which method makes most sense to you. As we start to get bigger numbers and bigger exponents, the expansion method can be a little tedious and I think cause more errors because we start to have to write the variable out too many times. So it's a little more tendency to forget things. All right, so we're going to keep moving forward on more exponent laws. So I hope this one helped for the quotient rule for exponents, and I will see you in the next video.